Hey everybody, my name's Derek and I record under the moniker KapTep. Today I'd like to take you behind the scenes and show you a little bit of what happens in my creative process, my workflow, and what it takes to produce a KapTep track. This is not a tutorial, so there are no right or wrong answers. My production and my workflow are just that. That's the way I tend to work. If you work in a different way, that's okay too. But I want to show you kind of what my thought process is as I create a track. So with that said, let's jump in, let's get started. So I'm going to start with a chord progression, and the chord I want to use is F, A, C, and E. And I'm just using a piano here to demonstrate. So the chord played normally sounds like this. But I want a couple of pads to do this, so I'm going to just play one pad with the F fifth. And the second pad will play really A minor, or A fifth. And more realistically, it'll probably have a little variance to make it more interesting. It might be E and then A. So again, I've got one pad playing this. And I've got one pad playing this, which is going to translate to two pads together, kind of giving you this sound. And that gives it kind of that melancholy tone and color that I like. So let's get a couple of pads together and I'll show you kind of what they end up being, what they sound like being mixed together. So I use FL Studio as my workstation, and I've created this kind of F chord pattern here. And I've got everything else muted here. We'll bring it in as it continues to build. But I want to show you the first pad that I created. It's created on Hydrosynth, and then I ran it through a number of effects. And again, remember, I want slow attack and long release times. And you can see here, hopefully you can see on the waveform, there are areas where there's not much happening, and that's intentional because I want to leave room for the second pad to fit in and work together. So let's play just the first pad, and you can hear what the first pad sounds like. And again, I'm intentionally letting this ring out so that I can fit other things in there. So that's just the first pad in F, and then I'm going to add in a second pad down here that's also recorded with Hydrosynth. And now you're going to be able to hear how the two play together to kind of form that chord that we demonstrated on the piano. So let's listen to both of those together. Okay, now it's starting to sound like something, but there's still, in my mind, something missing that gives it that ambience and kind of that KapTep feel. I'm a big fan of rain, static, things like that. So we're going to add a couple loops in like that, and we'll see what that does for the composition. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, I like to add another element to my productions, and that is some textures in the background. So I've added in some vinyl crackle here, and I've also added in a little bit of light rain. A lot of ambient producers do this, and it works really well. It kind of fills in those gaps. For me, I think it adds a warmth and a texture. It doesn't have to be crazy loud. Just very subtle in the background. Again, everything in ambient music revolves around the subtleties. So I'm going to play you just what I added. I'm going to mute the pads. And so this is kind of the vinyl crackle and rain. And you can kind of hear that just going to add a little bit of warmth. I've got it mixed pretty low in the mix. There is some reverb, and there's a high-pass filter on it. Maybe we'll do a video later of effects chains and things like that. And then, again, subtly, a little bit of light rain. I'm going to play that one for you. That's got kind of an extremely high frequency. Nothing crazy. Again, there's not a lot in there, just a little bit of kind of hiss that goes along with that rain. I think it adds some depth to the production. So I'm going to stop that, and then I'm going to play the whole thing right here. This is just one chord, one loop of it, but this is kind of the full production so far on this track I'm building. So you'll be able to hear the static, you'll be able to hear the rain, and then how the two pads interplay together. Okay, so that's the first loop so far in the production. I'm going to switch camera angles a little bit, and we're going to talk about kind of my next steps. So the next steps in this production are really kind of build the track out. What I have right now is a loop that I think sounds good, I'm happy with, but I want to build it out and expand it and make it more than just a loop. I want it to be a song. So I'm going to go in, and in this particular production, I added a couple of key changes in, a couple different chord progressions. I'm kind of using the same idea. I think it was in G and then go down to D minor, which fits really good with that melancholy sound that I was wanting. And then when I get it to this point, what I typically do is I just put the track on and let it play while I'm in my studio. Maybe I'm catching up on social media, maybe I am checking emails or doing other tasks, and I just let it run for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. And once it gets to the point where I've almost tuned it out, I either hear things that need to be changed, or I realize it's there, that I've accomplished what I set out to do. It's kind of this melancholy, dreamy groove that works well, and I'm happy with for the KapTep sound. A little bit about the field recordings I use in the KapTep productions. I don't need a big rig. I don't need boom mics or anything like that, because everything, quite honestly, is going to be buried very low in the mix for my field recordings. I use the Tascam DR05X with the windscreen. It allows me to capture wind, rain, any kind of outside sounds in nature that I want to use, and I record a ton of stuff and then throw it onto the computer, and sometimes I time stretch it, sometimes I manipulate it around further, but it's a good tool for me to use for all my field recordings. So the last step in my production is going to be, once I have all the chord changes in, I have the song kind of all built out, and maybe it's 5 or 6 minutes long, I just let it run again for maybe an hour, 2 hours while I'm doing other things. And at this point, I'm mixing. And so I'm making sure the levels are right. I'm making sure one pad doesn't overpower the other. I'm making tweaks to the reverb. I work on panning. So I don't want any crazy panning where stuff's going way side to side. This isn't club music. This is ambient music. So a little bit of panning to give movement and motion within the track is good. Too much to one side or the other, I don't like personally. Again, there are no hard rules, but I like things to stay kind of well centered and just have enough movement in the track. So I'm getting levels down. I'm getting the spacing down. Sometimes at the last minute, I throw in some additional pieces that I can hear after listening to the track for a couple hours over and over and over. I can hear maybe something else would be there. It'd be nice to add this or that just for color, for texture. But for the most part, I just listen to the track and let it go. And once I get to the point where, I've kind of tuned it out, I can't see any changes. I think the mixing levels are good. Then it's ready to go off and be mastered. And it's a completed track. So the track I've shown you today is not done. It's probably 80% done. I still have to go through some automation, which we haven't talked about at all, and the effects chains, which I didn't really talk about at all either. But it's pretty close to being done. I'm going to go through those steps, go through my normal process, and hopefully you can hear this song somewhere down the road. Thanks for watching.